Alright guys, what's going on? We're here to review something exciting, and which is Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie! It is finally out after the delays that we have unfortunately had with real life events, but it is here. And both Anna and I, we can completely say that this is fantastic. This is going to be a review for this movie, and relax, there will be no spoilers on here. So if you do want us to go into spoiler territories, let us know in the comments below. But this is going to be completely spoiler free. Sunday. One of the first things that we both were really excited is that the energy that this movie has is that same energy that we got from the 4-part or 2-part, however you want to count the episodes, finale, where, like, you know, it had that high level of action, and then, like, you know, it also had the humor in it, like, without, like, losing it, but
the future.
You know, it really married the two really good, and this movie, like, does the same thing and does not disappoint in that aspect. If you are a fan of Rise of the Ninja Turtles, you're going to be really happy and satisfied with this movie. Now, if you guys don't know the plot, just to go through it, like, pretty basic, in the future, the race, the Krang, has taken over the Earth, and, like, you know, when all hope seems lost, Casey Jones, he goes back into the past, which is our present, to tell the Turtles to stop the Krang invasion.
Let's start over. My name is Casey Jones, in the future.
When they actually invade New York City. So, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But of course, there's going to be a lot more going on in there. But the one thing I do want to note is, like, you know, we have the future sequence in the beginning, and it's actually pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed it. We get to see like a few of the turtles, like what they look like in the future, and we even have one of them doing a lot of, like, movement that's really inspired from Doctor Strange. What really surprised me was, at the beginning, we actually see blood in this movie, and that was the last thing I was expecting from Rise of the Ninja Turtles, was blood. I like, you know, if you told me, like, after watching, like, you know, the first season of the show, like, oh yeah, you think they're gonna make a movie with blood in it? I'm gonna be like, no, they're gonna, you know, keep that TVY7, which this movie is surprisingly is TVY7, and I have a feeling that they're going to have to re-rate this, because not only we have blood, we also, in, like, the beginning of the movie, we have a curse word in it as well, and I don't think that's allowed in TVY or TVY7. I would think that's, like, for TVG, maybe as much as PG, but I was that one really shocked me. I actually had to rewind it. Thankfully, you know, this is a streaming service. I had to, like, rewind it to be like, did I hear that correctly? I was like, no, I heard it correctly. So I, like, you know, like my expectation of blood was, like, down here. My expectation for a curse word was, like, way off the roof. I was like, this is not going to happen, but it does. Now, you know, there's no potty mouth in this movie or anything like that. That's the only instance of the of a curse word. It's just that one moment right there. But it really caught me off guard, and I was, like I said, I was not expecting it. Just speaking of the violence, I will say, like, you know, I don't think this one gets, like, so violent that, like, if, like, you know, for kids that, like, were able to handle the Rise of the Ninja Turtles violence, like, in general, I don't think that this one gets any higher than what you should, like, be worried about. But there is, like, this one, like, the action and the sequences do get, like, more than what the normal TV show had. Which, I mean, I'm not to be for a movie, like, straight to streaming, where you don't have much, like, network restrictions, I'm not surprised.
In the image of Krang.
I'm actually kind of glad they went this route, but, like, we do see real guns, like that, that is in there, and, and, like, some of the sequences, like, it's not like, we have, like, this bloodbath, of it, because, like, especially, like, some of these creatures that get injured are aliens, and so, like, they do creative ways to make sure, like, to keep it, like, oh, it's still, like, kid-friendly, but I will say this is more intense than a normal episode of Rise of Ninja Turtles.
Greatest weapon.
Oh, now, if you guys watched the finale, which I hope you watched it before this movie, you would know that at the end, Splinter makes Leonardo the leader, and that was whether it's to address what people were complaining about when Rise came in, they made Raph the leader, or if, like, this was their plan all along to have it, like, at the end where, like, everything goes in normal, because also at the end of the Rise series, the Turtles, they get their signature weapons back, but here, this is basically one of the big plots of this movie is actually Leo trying to be a leader, and nowhere in this movie they actually flat out say, hey, you're the leader now. It is kind of like that, like, okay, you kind of have to assume that, like, yeah, like I said, the movie doesn't really state that out right away. As for Raph, obviously, he's still the oldest of the brothers. He's not it's not like he de-ages or anything like that. But in this movie, he plays more of that protective, older big brother. So he's not the actual leader, but he's, like, the one who's, like, he's constantly just shielding his brothers. Like, throughout the thing, he is actually, like, telling Leo, like, oh, hey, you need to be doing this way. You need to be doing this way. Like, and, Leo has more of that hotshot attitude in, like, the beginning of the movie, which, as it goes on, he starts learning his ways, and that's actually something I really like. I like how they address the actual, like, leadership of it, which, I mean, even though they don't actually flat out mention at all, like, something else I did also notice that the animation of this movie had that like, it was present in the normal series, but here I felt there was a lot more, and we have a lot more, like, I like to call them meme faces, because, like the faces of the Turtles, they get, like, really deformed, really in these, like, weird, just actual, like, impossible to do in real life, like, expressions. I mean, in animation, it translates really well. It's just that, like, I know we had this in the show itself. It's just, like, here, I really felt like they cranked it up, like, up a lot more than what the actual show had. Just, like, constantly, I mean, there's that one point where, like, Donnie has a face, and he almost, like, looks like a man. I was like, whoa, wait, like, and, like, I just, every time I saw this, I felt like, oh, this is, like, one of those, like, you want to take that screenshot, and, like, just put, like, just, like, one of those, like, meme messages in there. And, speaking of, like, animation and everything, I mentioned how, like, the action sequences are still really good. I mean, there are still a lot of moments where, like, just like the show, like, where they do, like, the action, and then, like, all of a sudden, like, they kind of have, like, this wide shot, or, like, like, an explosion kind of thing, and, like, where they actually kind of, like, stand around, like, for a minute, and it just looks magnificent. Like, so many moments of, like, this where you kind of, like, want to, like, pause it and, like, just, take a screen grab of the actual screen and, like, be like, oh, wow, like, make a good wallpaper, or, like, and in fact, at one point, Leo makes the joke of, like, oh, if this is not the poster shot, like, someone's gonna get fired, but that is, like, a lot throughout the movie, and it is, I really like the way they do that. Like, you know, the animation is exactly what the animation that you expect from a Rise movie, because if you were watching it from the series. Speaking of like we do have like some character cameos, especially on the villain side of the show. Like, obviously April and Splinter are back, and the four turtles are also back. Like, you know, we can't have a Ninja Turtle movie without the four turtles. But we have, like, you know, we have a few villains that also return that don't really do much. They're kind of like more in just to set up for the Krang to come. But one of them, I will say, is Foot Brute. And the odd thing about him, and if you guys don't know, like, he was voiced by Maurice LaMarche in the series. And for some reason, even though they have this character in the movie, he doesn't say a word. And the closest thing he has is he has a grunt. And it just makes me... It really stood out to me, and it made me like, oh, okay, they couldn't get Maurice to come voice him. I mean, Rob Paulsen comes back as Foot Lieutenant, and Rob Paulsen also voices like another like unseen character as well. It's just like, it was just weird having just Foot Brute just kind of like just standing in there and not saying a word. It was, and like I was like I understood why they did it, because it's kind of hard to have. But like have one without the other, but I think they should have gone to the route of like replacing the voice actor to have someone to sound like Maurice, instead of, like, to me it was more jarring that we just had him kind of like just be silent for like throughout like his involvement in the movie. So I mentioned that Casey Jones, he's in the movie. You know, he comes from the future. He goes into the past.
I'm from the future.
Now, I mean, going in, I knew about the other Casey from the show. If you remember, Foot Recruit. At the last episode, her name was revealed as, like, you know, it was like Casey Jones, and, like, you know, that was like their version. And I really felt like because of that trap that they already set, like they already made a Casey Jones, that this is like why they had to, like, oh, let's just make another Casey Jones and come from another timeline. I felt like this is their way to like just be kind of like, okay, we have the Casey Jones that people want without sacrificing our Casey Jones. Like, all of a sudden, like, you know, it's like, oh, we just refer to her as a Cassandra now. Like, you know, oh, that whole ending thing, no. Like, or like change your last name or something like that. And I actually kind of like the way they do it. And I like, you know, just because I like the way, like, I'm glad they didn't like try to like just throw her out, and but they still kept Casey. Zelda Williams is not in the movie, but her character does get name dropped. So like, you know, they do like the whole like, okay, let's acknowledge about this, but like, you know, if like, because I know that was like the one worry I had about that, but like I said, she gets name dropped, but she's not in this movie. As for Casey himself, actually, this Casey is very different from the comics and also from the cartoon series. In the comics and the cartoon series, he was always like this, like more of this oaf who doesn't think, who just goes and attack, and like, you know, his sense of justice, like overweighs like just common sense. And here he is a lot more level-headed, but he's not as like level-headed as he was in the live-action Out of the Shadows movie. Like, you know, he still has like, he has some Casey-isms in him, but he does kind of like step back and be more of the voice of reason, especially to Leonardo, as like, you know, as I mentioned before, Leonardo is still trying to grip onto the fact that, you know, he's the leader. Now, something that this Casey has that no other Casey Jones ever had is not, like, you know, he has a hockey stick, but he has an upgrade on his hockey stick. He actually has a chainsaw at the end of his hockey stick. It's actually really cool. You know, now unlike the Turtles, he does not have like any mystic power whatsoever. So you know, he goes and does like what he does, and also he is voiced by Haley Joel Osment. And when this movie first started, I couldn't like place the voice. I was like, it sounds familiar, but I can't place it. And then we get into scenes where he gets like really excited or like, you know, really like worried, and like, you know, and then all of a sudden like, you know, I close my eyes and I'm like, that's Sora, because I am a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. And so once like, you know, once a Haley Joel Osment like came out, like full Haley Joel, I was like, that is Sora, and I completely recognized it from there. Now I will say, the way he does Casey, like, only for those moments, I forget it's Sora, but most of the time, he like I hear him as Casey, and especially like at first, like when I saw the trailer and when I was first watching the movie, I thought it was Josh Peck. Like, you know, to me it sounded like more in that range. So I actually really like Haley's performance in this, and I was actually really glad that other than a few moments in the movie that I wasn't like constantly hearing Sora and like trying to like figure out where Donald and Goofy are to, you know, to find out where the Heartless is. You know, it's not that franchise, guys. You know, Casey's over here to fight the Krang. And, you know, speaking of the Krang, so obviously they have to enter in New York. I mean, or else this movie would be like 10 minutes long if, like, you know, Casey like succeeds like his mission. I mean, that's let's face it. You know, if that was a spoiler for you guys, sorry, spoiler. The Turtles are gonna have to fight the Krang. But when the Krang like comes in, I'm so used to like you know, I'm so used to like, you know, the original series or the Utroms, where like, you know, like they only function as a brain and like they have to go in an exosuit. Here we actually see them like battling as like the brains, and then in fact as the brains, like they're pretty big. Like the first one that comes out, he is as big as the Turtles. And
It started! They're here!
Join me, sister, brother.
And he is just completely fighting it. And like, you know, later they get like suits that you expect them to get suits, because, you know, but yeah, like most of the time they are just fighting as just normal brains. Now here's the deal. In this movie, it's almost like the 2012 series where they called the race the Krang, instead of like, you know, instead of the original series where like the one character was named Krang. These guys actually don't get a name. Like throughout, the closest names we have is the leader calling like his brother and sister by saying brother, sister, and that's it. Like, you know, so I mean, you could possibly say that like the main one is Krang, and then like, you know, then the other one, her name is sister, and the other one's name is brother, maybe. But the way they implement like these characters, they keep calling them the Krang, and so that leads me to believe that this is the race. I was just surprised that like nowhere in the movie they actually tried to give these guys like names at all. And I'm actually, you know, I'm more surprised that they didn't even try to use the word Utrom in this movie at all as well. So at one point there is a flashback, you know, to talk about like the Krang, and the art for this like flashback sequence is actually really beautiful. I actually really enjoyed it. It's not long, and it's not really animated. It's more of like kind of like, it's like, you know, it's more of like still images, but then like they kind of like use the still images to kind of like flip it to like other images to give that that illusion that it's being animated. It looks fantastic. I really like it. And at one point, like they actually have like 4 characters in there, and they actually have like the colors and the weapons of like the Ninja Turtles I really enjoyed that sequence a lot. It's very brief, but it was really impactful. That I actually really enjoyed it, and I'll say that this movie, even though like it takes place after the finale, and they even mentioned that like they defeated the Shredder. They have their normal weapons, and they they even have like the mystic powers and everything. But I'll say they made this movie more accessible for like any Ninja Turtle fan than trying to keep it for the people who watched the Rise series, because I really felt like I was watching it. At no point they mentioned like, oh, Raph used to be the leader. At no point they mentioned about like their other weapons. Like they made it like just to keep up with the actual turtle lore. That I really feel like if you didn't watch Rise, you can still enjoy this movie. I mean, to get the full enjoyment, you would actually need to watch the series. And I know at this point, like, because this movie's on Netflix, unfortunately Netflix only has the first season, so you don't actually have the second season to see, the turtles actually getting the new black outfits and the new and like their weapons coming back. But I will say, if you're a Ninja Turtle fan and you didn't like Rise, I would say still give this movie a shot. I mean, especially if you already have Netflix. I'm not saying if you're a Ninja Turtle fan and you didn't like Rise to go out and get Netflix to watch it, but if you have access to it, I mean, the only thing you would actually waste is just your time, not your money. So I would actually give this one a shot, because, like I said, I really felt like they made this one to go with like anyone who's a Ninja Turtle fan, instead of like trying to alienate the people who saw the 39 episodes like of Rise and Ninja Turtles. And this also, this movie has like some great Easter eggs in it, and I really liked it. Be sure to pay attention to it. Obviously, there's only one news channel in this movie. You can kind of guess what that news channel is. April's college, is she's at East Layard University, and that's basically it's combining Eastman's last name and Peter Layard's last name. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do. And then we have Krang. They're trying to bring something to Earth, and if you know your Ninja Turtles, and if you know that character from the original show, you can kind of guess like what they're trying to bring into Earth. Just a lot of Easter eggs over there. I will say the action is just as good as the show. If you really enjoyed the show, you're going to really enjoy the action. The jokes are just like the show. I know for a lot of people these jokes are hit or miss. Personally, whatever Donatello says, I really enjoy, and I always laugh at what he says. If you don't like the jokes of Rise, maybe this one might not win you over or anything like that. But if you watch Rise and you laugh hysterically for the 11 minutes, you're going to really enjoy everything, because it just gives you more of and especially since it's been 2 years since the show ended, it's over there to give you that.
We're not like everyone else on this planet. We are.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles!
Now, what this movie does not do, it doesn't give us like a new ending. I felt like this is just more of like, okay, here's a new adventure. But if you're expecting this to be like, oh, well, this is another satisfying ending, you'll be disappointed in that front. But at the same time, I felt like the show gave us such a great ending that we don't need like another true hey, this is our last hurrah kind of thing. I will say that. And as for my opinion, at first I really enjoyed the movie, but after watching this, it did not make me want a third Rise series. Like, this really made me, in fact, if I would like it if instead of giving us like a third season if they did more direct-to-streaming movies like in this fashion. I think that's the best way to go. Now, I know with like, you know, obviously the show ended early, and like this was still made because of like the deal that was made. What I don't know is I don't know if this does well, if they're gonna continue on or not. I'm hoping that this will do well enough that we have like more direct to stream movies, whether it be on Netflix or Paramount Plus. That one doesn't matter to me. I would just prefer it that way. Then my main thing is like I'm kind of selfish. I like the way that the show ended, and the only reason I don't want a third season, I don't want the ending to be for nothing. Because I like it more just like, oh hey, this is another adventure kind of thing, and whenever they have another adventure, we have like a big grand adventure and not just like, oh hey, we gotta go return a DVD, because that's seriously a plot of Rise of Ninja Turtles, is they have to go return a DVD.
If this isn't the poster shot, someone's getting fired.
You know, I think the show has like gone past that point, and I don't want it to go back there. Now, I mentioned like, you know, if you haven't watched Rise, to give this one a shot. I will say that even if you enjoy this movie and you didn't enjoy the series, I don't think this movie is going to really make you like the series. Like, just because it is like, I feel like this movie is its own kind of thing, its own grand adventure, that like if you didn't like some of the plot points of the show, other than like, you know, like the ones that are like you know, about Shredder or like some of the other sequences, like this isn't going to change your mind about the show, about the show. But I still think if you watch it, you'll still enjoy the movie. Alright, so those are our opinions about it. You know, this movie will be on Netflix on August 5th. You know, and as I mentioned before, if you want me to go into spoiler territory, let me know down in the comments. I might do one after it's released officially on Netflix, or if not, it's alright. But thank you so much for watching, and you know, let us know down in the comments below if you're planning to watch this movie. Let us know maybe if you already seen this movie, or you're watching this after it got released and you want to know my opinions after you watched it. You know, and you know, again, thanks for watching, and until next time, guys. See ya. Something dropped over there. But now what